Now, U.S. President Donald Trump has branded Iran's terms for ending the war totally unacceptable.
And this has only raised the likelihood of renewed conflict. After weeks of negotiations, Iran says that its response was a rejection of the U.S. proposal that was given to them earlier. Iran had sent its response via Pakistani mediators.
Iranian media has released the details of the proposal. Iran seeks to end the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon. It also wants the U.S. to pay war damages and recognize Iran's sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has also demanded end of American sanctions and the release of Iran's blocked assets by the U.S. According to the semi-official Tasnim news agency, the response also calls on the U.S. to end its naval blockade, guarantee no further attacks, and end a U.S. ban on Iranian oil sales.
But Trump himself provided no details on Tehran's counter proposal, but in a brief post on Truth Social, he made it clear that he was rejecting it. Trump said, and I quote, "I have just read the response from Iran's so-called representatives. I don't like it. Totally unacceptable."
Now, the American proposal had reportedly focused on extending the truce in the Gulf to allow for talks on a final settlement of the conflict and on Iran's contested nuclear program. Iranian state television reports that Iran rejected the proposal as amounting to surrender.
The Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said on Sunday on social media that Iran will never bow down to the enemy. And if there is talk of dialogue or negotiation, it does not mean surrender or retreat.
Now, the back and forth came as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insisted the conflict was not over until Iran's enriched uranium was removed and its nuclear facilities dismantled.
The Wall Street Journal, citing people familiar with the matter, said that Iran has laid out its own demands to U.S. and proposed to have some of its highly enriched uranium diluted and the rest transferred to a third country. Iran has reportedly also sought guarantees that the transferred uranium will be returned if these negotiations fail or if Washington quits the agreement later.
Now, Trump made no mention of such details in rejecting Iran's response. A senior U.S. administration official said that Trump is expected to press President Xi Jinping of China, who is a major buyer of Iranian oil, on Iran when he visits Beijing this coming week.
Iran imposed a blockade on the vital Strait of Hormuz early in the war, sending global oil prices soaring and rattling financial markets. The U.S. Navy, meanwhile, is blockading Iran's ports, at times even disabling or diverting ships heading to and from them.
Meanwhile, reports say that Britain and France are sending vessels to the region in advance. Iran has warned that Britain and France would need a decisive and immediate response should they deploy their ships to the strait.
French President Emmanuel Macron later insisted that his country had never envisaged a naval deployment in the Strait of Hormuz, but rather a security mission coordinated with Iran.
And so we have never considered, I invite you to review all my statements from day one, deploying forces to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. That has never been France's option.
Britain and France will host a multinational meeting of defense ministers from more than 40 nations on military plans to restore trade flows through the Strait of Hormuz.